rum and a bottle of rum, and like I had promised, I am coming to you with some of the COVID restrictions and how we are dealing with country to country and the way things change from place to place. So we started in the UK and things were very different there than they are now. So when we got to the UK, it was much more open than it is right now. So in the UK, the only process they had at the time was basically, it was just contact tracing. So when we got to the UK, they had us download an app, which was contact tracing app, to where when we went from place to place, after you downloaded the app, they would have you open the app, screen, you would take a picture of a little QR code from each place. So we went to a restaurant that was connected to our apartment, and the restaurant had at the bar and at the tables a little QR code. You take a picture of the QR code that lets the CDC of the UK know that we who are registered under that app, let them know that we were there. That way, if someone else who also took a picture of that QR code was there who may have tested positive, it lets them know to let us know that we were in close contact with someone who had tested positive. So there were those QR codes in stores, bars, restaurants, gas stations, anywhere you can think of. So these were supposed to be required. Now, of course, not everyone complied, and not every bar, restaurant, store, clothing place, pharmacy required everyone to do it. But like the little Indian restaurant that we went to, they requested that we please scan the QR code prior to us being seated at our table. It was nice to see the places that did follow the restrictions and follow the process. It made us feel more safe. It made us feel like we were able to be protected or able to be contact traced, because I would like to know if I've been exposed or if I have been in close contact with someone who had tested positive. So that was the only real thing that was COVID-y in the UK, other than taking our PCR test prior to going into Croatia. When we were in the UK, everything was open. Bars, restaurants, Harrods, clothing stores, everything. Now, to get into Croatia, we had to have a PCR test. So you couldn't just do the rapid test, you had to have the molecular test. So those were only available at certain pharmacies. So you had to go to the specific pharmacies that handled the PCR tests, and those were about 150 pounds a piece, and we needed 6. So how it worked was you go to the pharmacy that provides those, you pay for those PCR tests, they give you the 6 PCR tests, you take them back with you. They don't administer them, they're not allowed to administer them. That is something you do as self-administer. I took them back to the apartment. I swabbed everybody's nose. I was not the favorite person that day. You put them back into their packaging, you seal them, everyone signs them, you put what date it was, you put the time that you administered it, because it took 36 hours for it to process. And then you return it back to the pharmacy, and if you return it by 2 p.m. on whatever day, they guarantee results by midnight the next day. So, because of the way it worked for Croatia, you had to provide a negative COVID PCR test within 48 hours of entrance. So, we dropped our PCR tests off at the pharmacy. We were in Amsterdam when we got our results. We entered Croatia and had our emails with our negative results. We provided our negative results to the customs of Croatia. Croatia saw them. They had us email those negative results to the Health Administration of Croatia, and then we had to keep those negative results on us. That was how that worked. Now, in Croatia, their COVID restrictions were much tighter. So in Croatia, all bars and restaurants were completely takeaway only. Well, bars were closed completely, but all restaurants were completely takeaway only. You could take any food away. You couldn't even eat outside on patios. They had gathered all tables and chairs and put them all in a pile and then roped everything off. There wasn't even like benches to where you could gather and sit on your own. They made it to where it was basically impossible to eat outside of bars or restaurants and grills and things like that. So if you wanted something, even like in a mall or something like that, you would have to get your food at the food court, go outside of the mall, maybe sit on the curb or sit in the parking lot or sit in your car, and then you could have your snack and then go back in and finish shopping. They're very strict, promise me, because I got a soda on the first time we went to the mall to do some shopping, and I pulled down my mask to take a drink of the soda, and the shopping mall security got on to me and made me leave the mall to go finish drinking my soda before I could come back in, which I was happy to do. I just didn't know that was the rules yet. So there you go. The stores and the malls and everywhere have posted all of their maximum capacity. Many of the smaller stores, the maximum capacity is like 2 people, sometimes it's 5. So you wait in a queue to go in. Pharmacies is typically 2 people. There's usually a line of people. Everybody is quite polite. They understand. It's pretty awesome to see if there's a person that's a disability or a woman that's pregnant. They get to jump in front, which is perfectly fine. I think that's nice. It's the way it works. So that was the restrictions in Croatia. Now, to leave Croatia by vessel, which is how we did it, it was a little more difficult because of COVID and because it was winter. They had many of the ports closed. So we could only leave from Split, Korčula, or Dubrovnik. And to leave from Split, it was a little too far for us to go because we are new to sailing on this boat. We had sailed on our other vessel quite a bit, but this is a new vessel to us and we don't know how it works. I mean, we don't know how she runs, we don't know how she rides, we don't know a whole lot about her. We weren't prepared for such a long journey and passage. So to go from Split all the way to Italy was a bit far for us. So we wanted to work our way south and then come across. We had hoped to go to Vis and then come across, but Vis had been closed. So we worked our way south to Korčula. And we came across from Korčula, we went toward Viesta and then to Manfredonia. So in Italy, the way it works is you're supposed to enter into Italy and within 48 hours have your COVID test taken. Okay, that's not exactly how it worked. Italy, we came to Manfredonia, met with the Port Authority. Port Authority sent us to the Manfredonia Gargano Marina, which was fantastic, and Rita in the Manfredonia, the Marina del Gargano has been amazing. If you're ever here, Rita is fantastic. She has been nothing but helpful. What was supposed to be a 48-hour wait for our COVID test, where we are flying our quarantine flag and not able to step onto Italian soil yet, went from 48 hours to 72 hours to 96 hours, and we are completely stuck on the boat, which sometimes isn't so bad, except that it's cold weather, so we are not able to really even be outside. Getting a little cabin fevery, getting a little edgy, waiting to go and take our COVID tests. Then they tell us that they can't bring someone to do the COVID test. We're going to have to leave to go do the COVID test, and it's a drive-through only. And we can't walk to go do it, we have to actually drive to go do it. But we don't have a car. So we have to borrow a car. And so Miss Rita, who's super nice, lets us borrow her car. Which is great, right? Sort of. So finally on day 4, we get to borrow Miss Rita's car. We drive it. It's literally 1 block from the marina up to go do the COVID test. It only holds 5 people. We have 6 of us, so we make 2 trips. We start with the quick test, which is great. Now, something you may or may not know is that with the quick COVID test here, it's testing for coronavirus. It's not specifically testing for COVID-19, and what it is it's testing for, in Italy, they are testing even for borderline. So how they talk about it was from 0 to 0.1 is negative. From 0 to 1.0 is negative. From 1.0 to 1.8 is borderline positive, and then 1.9 to 2 is, like, they call it semi-positive. 2.0 to 4.0 is positive, and 4.0 plus was positive. I don't even understand, but that's okay. So it comes back 3 borderline positives and 3 negatives. So we are back to quarantine after the 3 positives get nose swabbed and sent off for the 48-hour molecular test, which is the PCR test that we actually took in London. And we are re-quarantined back onto the boat until those results come in. And unfortunately for Rita, because she was nice enough to let us borrow her car, which is what the Port Authority told her to do, she is also quarantined because now she has been exposed to 3 borderline positive tests. So we wait for 48 hours. They come back negative, fantastic, wonderful, awesome. We are free. We have to go on Tuesday to take our oldest daughter, who is 18, to Rome to catch a flight to go back to the States. Now, a little bit here. Our oldest daughter has to go back to college. So she is taking a flight. She just took a negative PCR test because she was one of the borderline positives. She just took a negative test. She has to take another quick rapid test to get onto her flight. The way the Rome airport works, before you can enter the airport, you have to provide proof that you have flight information. You have to have a temperature scan. You go from your temperature scan, if you're an international flight, you go from your temperature scan down to Terminal 1, which they have now transformed into a COVID-19 testing facility. You fill out your paperwork with your flight information and all of your information with, if you test positive, where you will be for 14 days quarantine here in Italy. If you test negative, but somehow are exposed in the process, where you will quarantine for 14 days in your destination, America for Isabel, and then all of the rest of your information for once you arrive. Once you do that, you go to your testing facility. It's one of 20 bays for testing, and then after they test you, you go sit for 20 minutes, you wait for your result. If you are negative, they hand you your paperwork, you go up. If you're positive, they hand you your paperwork and you leave. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, you go home. You're done. If you test positive, you're done, and then they will send police to check on you to make sure that you stay where you're supposed to be. There you go. You tested negative, thank goodness. Then you take your negative paperwork, you go upstairs, you can do the rest of your process. Once your baggage is checked and you go through your security, they have the I'm international and I've tested negative. They keep you separate from the domestic flights, and they have you kind of ooched through. Poor kid didn't get any food because the international we've been tested people kind of get channeled through a huge line, and she was afraid to get out of the line because it was so long and didn't want to miss her flight that she didn't stop for food. So note to people, if you're in the international, you've been tested negative, stop for food in that line because there's no food once you get through that line. So there you go for all of your UK, Croatia, and Italy COVID testing, Port Authority, and customs information. It has been fine. They've done a fantastic job. It's a little crazy. They've been polite and kind. It's just nowhere is the same. They seem to follow the rules as much as possible. But everywhere, which I understand, it's all new for everyone. Everywhere seems to be kind of making it up as we go, but I think we're all kind of doing that. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, feel free to ask me. We are enjoying it as much as possible. I hope y'all are enjoying it. If you're honest with the port authorities, if you're honest with the customs people and the COVID people, they'll work through it with you. Don't worry about it. So that's all I have. It seems like everywhere we've been, there's always been a super helpful person in the marina. So just find that person and ask them for help and work from there. So feel free to reach out, ask me some questions. If you have any kind of troubles, find us on And a Bottle of Rum. I'd love it if you guys follow us or whatever. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!